Not a problem, sir. He's a good kid. He's just got to watch his language in front of the ladies.
I'll remind Kevin where he comes from.
Okay, that sounds terrific.
You use foul language in front of a lady?
No, Daddy, no! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Woodshed. Now, those of you who do remember the pregame warm-up, remember that the Woodshed usually came at the end of the show, but it was such a hit, and it was so awesome to be able to do, and kind of like let everyone have it, that we decided from the pregame warm-up to actually just do the Woodshed, a nice little show just for you guys, talking about the things that just bother us in sports or little things that we need to address every now and again. And by we, I mean by bringing in my fellow cohort, Hunter Horn. How's it going there, Hunter?
It's going good, man. Good to be back. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Yes, we are. Well, I got to say, Hunter, as I'm getting ready to start and do this, I just want to say thanks to everybody who's been behind us, who's still asking where we are and what we're doing. Well, it's because, we're turning our noodles and trying to figure out what it is we can actually bring to you. Why? Because as we've always been here at the Lodge, we've been about the fans, getting you guys going, getting you guys revved up, and getting things ready for, well, Hunter, I'm going to say it. I'm going to let you go off to the side here for a minute as I go ahead and start prepping the woodship for my favorite part of the whole damn thing, and that is to talk about the college football playoff. There has never been anything in my whole life that I have been more annoyed by than a show that exists to do absolutely nothing but act as a giant tease for all of its fans, for all of the fans of college football who go around and say and love and somehow have a point of personal privilege when they go around and say, well, we think Ohio State is number one. Really? When was the last time the Big Ten won the national championship? Really? Look at the Big Ten and tell me if they can really contend with the SEC. Ohio State being number one is the number one mistake they made, because everybody knows that the best team in college football has to go with SEC. For crying out loud, I think Vanderbilt can probably beat Georgia. Now, I know that might hurt some feelings out there, and some people might, but again, it's just a little sarcasm just to say, really, the Big Ten at number one. And then what goes next? Michigan. Everybody loves them some Michigan, some Wolverines. Oh, yeah, they've got to listen. Again, I can't hear anyone refute the fact that the Big Ten has not won the national championship. The ACC's won it. The SEC's won it countless times. And yet we keep thinking that the college football playoff, whether it's the show or it's the organization itself, we keep thinking that whatever it is that they say, oh, that's got to be the standard. We've got to watch us some Ohio State. Man, I don't even think Ryan Daly likes watching himself some Ohio State, because sometimes he's just looking straight down and said, please, somebody just throw it to Marvin Harrison Jr. That's it. That's all he's got. That's all they can do. All right. We don't even know the quarterback's name for Michigan, because it's not like he's even a Heisman candidate. And again, here we go over again. I am so sick and extremely tired of trying to get a something that in reality, let's face some realities, everybody. The college football players will look at the ranking and say what? That the rankings don't mean squat until the conference championship. And then at number 5, bothering me, just climbing up my brain, is a Pac-12 team. If there's nothing more insulting than a Big Ten team being at the number 1 spot of the college football playoff, it's watching the Washington Huskies at number 5. Really, a Pac-12 team. A Pac-12 team being in the college football playoff is, again, yet another insult to college football. Maybe not the fans, maybe not anything. But how about the Pac-12 just get their crap together before they even consider? Make the just blindsided comparison. Like, if you can close your eyes and you can think, when was the last time USC won the national championship? Was there a college football playoff? No. Then can we stop talking about how Caleb Williams is so great? All right, Utah, have they done anything? No. The only team of actual consequence is Oregon, and even they are struggling to keep up with the Big 12. For crying out loud, we are looking at all of this just garbage again with all the, well, let's look over here and then let's look over there and do what? At the very end, we have left what we have always had left, and that is a ridiculous Pac-12 team in the college football playoff, or at least in consideration for it, and a Big Ten team that has to be in the top 2 spots. They have to fill in the top 2 spots with that. When the fact of the matter is that the SEC and the ACC constantly get disrespected by that organization in Missouri we call the NCAA. Now, I think, point of personal privilege, again, this whole point of personal privilege, as a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, I'm going to tell the Irish something very important. Guys, listen up. Ears open. All right. All you people out there in the Notre Dame athletic director's office sitting down listening to this, open your ears really big. Join a conference. I know it hurts your feelings. I know not everybody's a big name like you are. Listen, as a fan, I'm tired of watching you guys turning into every other conference's Vanderbilt. That's what you're going to be in ACC. That's what you're going to end up being in the SEC. You're going to be Vanderbilt's Vanderbilt. And then you're going to go to the Big Ten and be Big Ten's Vanderbilt. How about you just, I don't know, for the sake of just intelligence, just a little bit of intelligence that you guys claim to have, join a conference, become the Vanderbilt of that conference, and leave everybody alone. Because the fact is that they ranked you top 10 was almost an insult to me as a fan. Why? Because you're trying to get my hopes up. Screw hope. There is no hope in the college football playoff because everybody knows. They're going to put a Big Ten team in the top 2. They're going to insult the SEC and the ACC, and then they're going to insult all of college football by trying to put some Pac-12 team in the hunt. So I'm going to put out an idea, just an idea, and you can kind of take it as you want, how you want. And then, you know what? I'll bring Hunter in to see if maybe he can bounce off this idea. All right. I say give the bowl series to the group of 5. People want to watch football. They'll watch football. Hey, football's on. Doesn't matter who's playing. The bowl series makes its money, and the NCAA walks away rich. Yay. All right. Here's what we do. We take the conference championships, assuming Notre Dame actually nuts up and actually joins one, and then we make that a part of the playoff. And then the teams that win their conference championship go on to in a scaled way, in a way in which we have a tournament style. What? Chase for the championship. You will have a national championship by your desired date of New Year's. If you just do that, even if you take a week or half a week, or you just do one game a week, it doesn't matter. You can stretch that balloon as far as you can because it's not like you're not full of enough hot air. So why don't you go ahead, do that? And hey, maybe we might actually have a national championship that's worth watching with 2 teams that are actually in the hunt and actually belong there. So for just a quick second, I'm going to go ahead and calm down just a little bit. I'm going to invite Hunter. Hunter, please. Am I making any sense here?
I was wondering when I was going to get a chance. It's a lot to unpack, many points. First off, listen, I understand the whole Pac-12 thing and all of that, but you're dead wrong. Pac-12 has the most ranked teams in the top 25, whether or not you want to talk about weak schedule or not. Pac-12 has gone out. They've beaten pretty good teams. They've actually beaten SEC and Big Ten teams this year. So it's almost pretty humorous that the great Pac exit that's going on because of the conference being weak, and then suddenly all the teams are good now. So I'll just be honest. I've got to disagree with you on that one. As far as, Ohio State being ranked number 1, I think that is an insult as well. But Ohio State has really faltered this year. I mean, they were just up against Rutgers and had to put it together in the second half again. And they've had to put it together in the second half for far too many games this year for me to have them at number 1. But who would you really have at number 1? Michigan hasn't really played anybody. Georgia hasn't played anybody. We know, FSU has played a few good ACC teams, but the ACC teams they've played have all fallen off the wagon as well. And they don't have any real meaningful competition left except for a few rivalries. Washington's got the best friggin' resume. Washington's taken down Oregon. They've taken down Oregon State. They've taken down, I believe it was either Kansas State or Kansas as well. They've got the resume. And I really like their quarterback. Their quarterback spreads the ball out well. He's a good dual threat quarterback. He's got wheels to him. I think he'll make a good jump at the NFL level if he's drafted into the right situation, as you know. But aside from that, the teams that are in the top four now, I believe they're in there just based on the fact that they're in the higher up of the Power Five conference. But if
Mhm.
we're looking at resume and teams that they've beaten, like I said, Washington's got the best.
All right. Well, that's how you're feeling about that, and that's perfectly fine. And yeah, I mean, why the heck not? I listen. It's not to say that the Pac-12 doesn't belong in necessarily a discussion. They've beaten. I'm sorry, they haven't. You say they've beaten top 10 teams. I don't think they've beaten. Well, they've beaten Big Ten teams and SEC teams, but they don't beat the good teams, and they beat the people that are on the low rung of that ladder. And then the worst part about it is that they're just offense. Very few of them are. I think Utah's the only team that has like a defense. Um, Oregon turns it on, turns it off every now and again. I think the Pac-12 is kind of like a roller coaster because at one point in the beginning of the season, I would say but between week 4 and week 5, we were actually looking at where the ACC was mostly in the top. Most of the ACC teams were in the top 25. You're right. They've all fallen off. And one of the teams that I think will set FSU apart is Louisville. If they could beat Louisville, then I say the national championship's in the bag for them.
Yeah, that conference championship against Louisville is gonna be the deciding factor. It really is. And like I said, they've got Miami at home, then they've got North Alabama. That's a bye week. And then then they go on the road to the Swamp. And the Gators have always shown that ranking don't matter. But I really don't think either Miami or the Gators really have the offense to contend with this FSU stout defense, and they've been owning the trenches. At least Miami for sure doesn't have the offense to keep up with FSU this year.
All right. Well, Hunter, I'm going to go ahead, let you slip into the back while I complain about yet another thing really quick. And it's just, this is a point of personal privilege. So let's go ahead and bring that in where I'm going to talk about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And that has always been, what does anybody mean by player safety? Just recently in an English hockey league, we really witnessed somebody die on the ice. And Hunter, I really am going to ask for your opinion on that very shortly because I'm going to make this quick and very simple because the NHL says that they're not even going to consider the idea of neck guards. Now, granted, what happened, could it have been considered an anomaly? All these different things doesn't really matter. My question to every organization is, why do they keep lying to fans and then thinking that the fans believe them when they talk about players? Everybody knows hockey is a collision sport. Football is a collision sport. If you're going to play football, prepare for concussions. Hockey, prepare for concussions. If you're going to play basketball, be prepared for high ankle sprains. It's only natural for injuries to occur when you've got athletes meeting at almost their most dominant or most alpha or apex of their actual talent. They're going to actually hurt each other. Shoot, even in baseball, stand in front of a pitch the wrong way and guarantee you're going to either be seeing stars or Jesus, one way or the other. So at this point, when are we going to stop thinking about the idea of that they care about the player? Because we know that they don't. And when are fans going to start getting over this idea that this somehow translates to youth sports? Because it's easier for 2 10-year-olds to knock heads than it is for 2 grown alpha males to be going 50 miles an hour at each other. Like, Hunter, please, like, help me understand this. And then maybe you can even help us understand what actually happened on the ice, period.
Well, I've always really been about with player safety up to the individual. Protect yourself as much as you want.
Correct.
We're all about this whole, my body, my choice type of thing around here,
Right.
So, but it's getting to the point now where, you look at the youth leagues and you look at what's required in them. let's branch away from football and basketball for a second. I'll stick to a topic that I know, like hockey. I'm sure everybody was aware of Adam Johnson. He got his neck slashed wide open, bled to death there on the ice. It was very tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Until you're the age of 18, they require neck protectors in all USA youth events, Canadian youth events, world youth events. If you are under the age of 18, you wear a neck protector. As a goalie, ours is thicker. It protects more of the collarbone and everything. I always had mine on. That was just me. But they said you had to have one on and this, that. And that's for the reason. It's a freak accident. I don't think the other player meant to do it at all. You have people really there. Oh, it's attempted murder. It's this, that. The guy led for the first guy with the puck, missed him, swung around. Your leg will swing out like that. It'll happen. And to be honest with you, usually the skate blade, because it's only a 16th inch deep, it hit him right in the right spot where it took his jugular out. Otherwise, they've had other players get hit with the skate there, and they bleed and stuff, but they don't die.
Wow.
And, I think this is really a pivotal moment where players themselves need to take a look at it and say, it's not that big of a deal to put a little friggin' cloth thing around my neck just to make sure I make it off the ice.
So you're saying that instead of the NHL regulating this, that this would be actually players using their noggin and actually getting this device. And
yeah, I believe this is a no-brainer. It's gosh, I can equate it to when they started making the players wear the visors and wear cages. As youth, you can't play with just a helmet with nothing covering. That's just how it is. I'm sure back in the 60s or 70s, they got tired of parents complaining about having to take their kids to the dentist all the time. So they were like, put the cage on, put the bird cage on.
I mean,
the NHL came around
in football. Everybody made fun of Brian Cox because he always wore the neck protector on the back of his actual shoulder pad.
You have to.
It just made sense.
It's playing longevity. It's these players wear the visors now, and the smart ones wear the covers on the ears as well from the shots that hit you up high. Because let me tell you, one of the worst hockey injuries you can actually have is taking a puck to like the side of the ear where it breaks the bones in your cheekbone and it ruptures your eardrum. That's a really, really bad one. That one happened to, I believe it was Morgan Riley last night for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Wow.
And he was done immediately off the ice. They had to actually help him up off the ice because completely it throws off your balance and everything.
All right. Well, we're gonna stay with the NHL. We're gonna stay with the NHL. I actually have some questions for you, and mainly because you're the hockey aficionado, and the NHL has just started its season, and we've kind of seen like there's a big separation. But I'm gonna actually start out with the East. I know when we talked about the West, there's only really one team that stands out, but we'll go to the East, and the Rangers, the Hurricanes, the Devils, the Lightning, the Panthers, and the Red Wings are all really, I mean, it almost looks like this is going to be another postseason gauntlet. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see the East being another sorry, excuse my language there, but another storm. Whoever makes it out of it's going to be beat up again, and that's the worst part when you have lopsidedness to the conferences. But I think the West is really getting themselves more together. You've got the Kings are looking better. The Canucks are looking better. You have dominance by the Knights, just like how in the East, the Bruins right now are once again resurged. The Canes have a top tier roster. They underperformed a little bit at the beginning of the season, but again, no reason to hit panic. They started, the players get going and all that stuff. That's really how it happens. I expect the Panthers to make another real good playoff run. They've got another real solid
exciting.
Playoff. Well, the Panthers right now are not playing bad hockey, and they're only at 80% power. We're still missing Sam Bennett. We're still missing Aaron Ekblad. We're missing Brandon Montour.
Right.
Brandon was the one who tied it up for us in that Game 7 against the Bruins. So, he had 12 goals in the playoffs. He's a contributor. He's not just the defenseman out there to take up space.
Right, and so then you also – right. And then, we're talking about the East. We're talking about the Panthers and, of course, the team that they took out last year with the Boston Bruins. Do you think the Bruins win the President's Cup again this year?
No, actually. You know who I have winning the President's Cup? I have the Carolina Hurricanes winning the President's Cup and then being like another second round exit.
All right.
They've got a good regular season team, but I don't see that postseason physicality that you need.
Right. Right. All right. Well, thank you, Hunter, for that little insight real quick into the NHL. We just started that season. Another season we just started is, well, basketball season. And listen, we got to get some things ready. We could talk like this about hockey because teams actually need to kind of get out of their funk. But basketball players actually have a really beautiful thing where they get to actually play all year long in different leagues. And like I said, though the probability of injury is there, the idea of actually getting a well, how can I say this in such a nice way? The idea of actually getting into the funk of the NBA, it's just in reality starting off the schedule. The schedule is really the only thing that really kind of changes a little bit in the NBA because they play a few more games than the other leagues. That's just about it. But for the most part, basketball players play year round in different leagues around the world, and they're doing their thing. I don't blame them for doing their thing. They're making their money. Ask me if I can make that kind of money and do that kind of work. Let's do it. But, the Lord didn't grace me with height or talent or skill. So it doesn't really matter. However, what I do want to say about our brethren in the basketball world is that we expect a lot of separation like we see in hockey in the NBA. That is not something that is going to happen. Everybody knows that the NBA is set to simmer. The NBA is only there right now just for the collection of games as they start getting everything ready because basketball doesn't really heat up until the All-Star break. So for right now, as we get to cover basketball and we get to look at some of the things that happen, we're just going to cover the news, but we're not going to cover who's standing out right now until probably a little bit after Christmas, because we all know, and like I said this last year when we were part of the pregame warm-up, and I will continue to stand by this statement, basketball players, because they play all year, they kind of start getting their rhythm going, and once the rhythm is going, they get moving. I say they just get moving things right along, and eventually, yes, once the postseason starts edging closer, it does actually get really interesting to watch. Hunter, I know you want to add something to this, so I'm going to go ahead and just give you the floor.
Well, Leo, I would definitely say that, basketball doesn't heat up until the All-Star break and all of that, but we could start to see some, gosh, it's I guess some trouble in paradise, especially with like the Lakers. They just got blown out by the D-League Rockets. And I think LeBron's starting to lose, some of his touch. I think his game is starting to reflect, that I Promise School, type of performance there. In case anybody doesn't know, he started a school. It only graduated like 30% of the students since it's been open. So I think he's starting to fall off just like that. He's not averaging the same amount of points. I played this fantasy basketball league, and there was a guy in there who was, I got LeBron James, I'm winning it all. And the guy's friggin' ain't got to win yet. So it's you can see that basketball is definitely transitioning to less shooting and more big men. Like, look at the Nuggets. They ran the table last year. Why? Because they had an unstoppable tree in the middle of the court. You can't stop it. You pass it to him, he backs up 3-4 steps, and he's 2 inches from the basket. How do you, So I think teams really need to get on that early on, develop that, that I guess big man type basketball again, because everything's starting to go down low. What do you think, Leo?
Well, I think you do have a point as far as how we're starting to see the careers of some of these guys starting to fall off, especially one LeBron James. But I do think that one of the things that we're going to get to see, especially after, like I said, they play all year round. We're going to start seeing the new generation coming up. And I think that does make for some good watching. So I'm not saying don't watch basketball. I'm just saying don't think that this is going to be, you're going to start seeing a separation of power. What you're going to see is just good exhibition ball. And you know what? If you want to sit back, watch baseball, if you want to sit back, watch a baseball game, you're going to have to hit rewind. But if you want to go watch a little basketball, I say that's not a problem. Go for it. Do it. Watch the games, but just don't go and say, oh, this is going to be A lot of people don't understand football is different from just about every other sport because there's so few games. Here you have a lot of games, a lot of things that can happen over the year. And then again, these players aren't going to run right out the gate. They don't want to get hurt. They want to be able to make it all the way through their season. So like I said, yes, there's going to be that separation where we start seeing guys that might have to start considering putting in for that goal watch, if you know what I'm saying. But guys, again, thank you so much for watching the Woodshed. We love you so much. Thanks for joining us, keeping up with us, still trying to get a hold of us out here. And we're going to keep going. We're going to do this once a week. We're not done. We've got so much more to do, so much sports to cover.
And make sure to join us next time. Hunt's Big Hockey Locks will be back. So
that's right.
Soon.
And make sure you keep an eye on our Instagram page, which is going to be heating up with some really, really good bets that you guys will have to make, especially with this college football playoff thing kind of making the heat.
Exactly.
Right on up.
Exactly.
Thank you guys very much. Always watching.
San Diego.
And this is going to be Leo Valdez with Hunter Horn. And welcome back to the Woodshed.